Good evening, I'm Zack Straw. I'm a sophomore in Family Studies. Freshman year, I was put in Dr. Kelly Welch's Human Development class upon my advisor's suggestion. While I sat in a crowd of students that packed McCain Auditorium wondering what the class would entail, a woman walked in and introduced herself as our professor. Within 5 minutes of her introduction, I was sure that I'd love the class. Dr. Welch has a special way of teaching that inspires students to listen and retain information. She presents it in a fun and interesting way that makes the students want to be engaged. Even though I've had her classes 3 times, all of them have been packed with students, she's able to give it that small class feel. Her ability to connect with students on a deeper level helps Dr. Welch present relevant lectures based off of current events that directly apply to what college students are experiencing today. Please join me as I welcome Dr. Kelly Welch on stage.
Hello, I had to give him some human ecology love. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to be here tonight. I am going to be talking just very briefly, and if you know me, that's almost impossible. But they have a clock for me here, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about tonight to share a short story with you about my experiences teaching a large enrollment class at Kansas State University. So here's basically what it looked like when I started out as a new professor. There was me. I was smiling then. I didn't know what I was about to get into. I had 7 graduate teaching assistants. Where's all my grad assistants out here? You know, you all still smile, okay, because you love the stipend, right? And we taught 600 students a semester. Somehow, we managed to teach about 600 students a semester. I taught 4 lectures a week. My graduate teaching assistants each taught several small recitation sections a week. We were trying to give the students that small classroom feel. How did the students do? Well, like I said, we had over 600 students, and they came to class 3 times a week, but look what happened. And this is what Greg was talking about earlier this evening. Even though they were in class 3 times a week, and even though we were interacting with them that frequently, we had a miserable DFW rate. Excuse me just a minute. If you know me, I have to have my tea. Okay? We had over a 25% rate of D's, F's, and W's in that class. And that meant simply that we were not retaining our students. Now, not only was the model extraordinarily ineffective, because the retention rate showed that, the model was also very, very costly, both in financial resources and in human resources. Let's talk about human resources for a second. On Monday mornings, the very first lecture of the week, I was fresh as a daisy. I was happy. I still had that smile on my face, and I was ready to tackle the world. But by that 4th lecture, by Wednesday afternoon at 12:30, not so much. Not so much. Now listen, it wasn't my fault. You're laughing, so I'm not real sure we should let you back in the classroom tomorrow because you might be feeling the same way. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't the graduate teaching assistant's fault. It certainly wasn't any fault of the students. The problem that we were facing in 1999 was the traditional lecture. I know, is that not impressive? The traditional lecture. The lecture that's left over, that lecture format that's left over from the 15th century. And here's the problem with that traditional lecture model. It treats all students the same. And if I'd have been thinking ahead of time, I would have had the trumpet up here doing the wah-wah kind of teaching sound. It treats all students the same. When those students come into the classroom, the traditional model assumes that they all have the same academic preparation, because we know our students all read the book, right? Not going to happen. It assumes that they have the same interest in the subject. It assumes that they have the same motivation to learn, and it assumes that they have the same ability to learn. But here's the problem with that. Is that true? It's not true. We were up against the wall. And here's what was happening in all seriousness. We were leaking students out of our major. That DFW rate shows that. We were leaking students across the university. We couldn't keep our head in the sand any longer. Our backs were against the wall, and we know we needed to change. But how? How can we change? Every solution that we looked at kept taking us back to tradition. It kept taking us back to that traditional model. And as long as we stayed with that traditional model, we weren't going to make any headway. We weren't going to make any changes. So we knew that if we wanted to keep our students at Kansas State University, we knew if we wanted to reduce that leaking, that terrible retention problem, that we had to flip tradition on its head. And we did. Now, I love that. I just love that picture. What we did in 1999 was really avant-garde at the time. I went to some people that I considered good mentors at the university, and we sat and we had a meeting, and I said to them, we cannot keep doing what we're doing. I feel ineffective. I feel like I'm failing my students. And so what we decided to do was the students weren't having trouble with the lecture content. Why did they need me to deliver that? The students were having problems with the homework, but they were doing the homework at home when I wasn't there. They were doing the tough stuff at home when I wasn't there. So we decided to flip the classroom. Now, it's a beautiful model. What we ended up doing, and this is a tweet that just, you can kind of see the date up there, I think, in the corner. People told us we couldn't do it. People told us we were crazy. People told us that there's no way that students will ever do homework on their own at home without somebody, pushing them. But not only have we done it, we've done it very well. It was 1999. Look at the history on this. It was 1999, and the word flipping in a classroom had never been used before. Nobody had ever done it. Nobody had ever said, let's have the students watch their lectures at home and trust them to gain that content. There wasn't a word, there wasn't a model, but we thought, we don't have anything to lose, let's try it. We have absolutely everything to gain. And not only are they doing a great job, that's a little slide out of order there. We were told we were crazy. Not only are they doing the work, but look at these tweets, and these are just a few tweets that we just quickly grabbed offline. Not only are they doing the work, they're having fun doing it. They're laughing about it, they're learning, but as an educator, here's what thrills me the most. They're talking about it outside of the classroom. And that is success. That's how we know that we're reaching them. It's okay to have fun in a classroom. Now, speaking of the classroom, here's how we work today. We have, like I said, we have the students watching the lectures at home, and we call it convenient anytime, anywhere, any space learning. So they can do that. If you go to the rec, you'll see students watching the lectures. If you go to Panera or Starbucks, you'll see them watching the lectures. But we still get together once a week on campus. Now, when we're together, they told me I couldn't cross this yellow line because my shadow, but I'm so short I'm going to do it. I think I have several inches. See, I'm still not on the... That's really funny. Okay. So we get together once a week now instead of 3 times a week, and we call this synchronous learning. And I know these are just 3 pictures, but I want you to see what really is going on in these pictures. The students are interacting with each other. The students are interacting and engaging with the content. And the students are interacting and engaging with the instructor. That's what a flipped classroom can do. Now, you've already met Zach. He just introduced me. But guess what else we found out with this model? Not every task needs to be done by a faculty member. How cool is that? Okay? Faculty members, since the 15th century, we've had to be everywhere doing everything all the time. But what we've been able to do with this model is we now use our undergrad or our graduate teaching assistants to facilitate the learning. And the students love them because they can interact more with them. And of course, we also use what Greg talked about earlier. We use our undergraduate learning assistants. Okay, so here's where we were. That was a very costly model. At that time, I think our graduate teaching assistants, I think we paid about $35,000 a semester just in GTA support. Today, we have one faculty, we have one graduate teaching assistant with 2 undergraduate learning assistants, and we're teaching nearly 1,000 students a semester. That's what you can do when you can flip a classroom. We're not using 42 classrooms on campus anymore. That's an impressive number. We're now running 950 students a semester. We're saving this much each semester. And look at our DFW rate today. You guys should be clapping. That's awesome. That's retention. That means we're reaching them. They're learning. They're talking about it outside of the classroom. And here's my favorite number of all. You know what that number is? Since 1999, since we flipped the classroom, we have now taught 30,000 students in human development. That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. We've taken them from being passive targets, having content just thrown at them, thrown down their face, and now we have actively engaged learners on our campus. That's why they're learning. That's why they're retaining the information. I love this quote. If you ask me what flipping 2.0 would look like, because I call that first one flipping 1.0, and actually, this would probably be more like flipping 7.0 because I made so many mistakes over the years. But here's what I kind of envision as we move forward to our goals in 2025. I envision it like this. We have so much talent in this room tonight, and I envision it where we unleash the creative energies of this incredible faculty that we have here at Kansas State University. Incredible faculty. Have you create phenomenal classes like you already are. And guess what? Turn them over to the graduate teaching assistants. And that frees you up to create more phenomenal classes and to do other academic tasks. That's my vision for the future. The other beauty of that is, there's always a silver lining to a silver lining, is once we record some of these lectures and create some of these courses, we have ready-made classes for the Division of Continuing Ed. Think about it. That's stream after stream of untapped revenue, just sitting in your department. Steve Jobs, one of my heroes, which is odd for a sex professor to have an Apple guy, I guess, you know, as a hero. Kind of a weird thought, isn't it? Steve Jobs always had this quote, and it always resonates with me so much because for so many years we were told that what we were doing was crazy, that there's no way we could do it, that it just wouldn't work. And you know what? We knew we didn't have anything to lose, so we didn't listen to the naysayers. We just went forward with it. And we thought, well, what doesn't work will change along the way. Steve Jobs always said that the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the people who do. Think about that. And everybody he ever worked with, he always told them, listen, whatever you do, stay hungry. Don't lose your passion. Don't lose your passion for the big things. Don't lose your passion for the little things. And he always said, and no matter what, stay foolish. He was telling them, get rid of tradition. Get outside of that box. Don't be afraid of that. So I'm going to close with that tonight. Stay hungry, stay foolish, but but stay crazy. Flippin' crazy. Thank you so much.